While the Artemis II crew returned to Earth this April after traveling farther from our planet than any humans in history, a different kind of record is being set closer to home. Behind the high-resolution footage of lunar flybys, Gen Z is facing the most difficult entry-level job market in nearly 40 years. We have reached a point where 2/3 of all entry-level roles are actually being filled by people with over 7 years of experience. Employers aren't just raising the bar, they are increasingly choosing to skip the newest cohort of graduates entirely. This has created a phenomenon where candidates meet every stated requirement: degrees, technical skills, certifications, and submit hundreds of applications into a system that simply never responds. The data suggests this isn't a temporary dip in the hiring cycle. It is the beginning of a structural lockout for an entire generation of workers. In the physical world, economic pain is easy to see. We have a century of experience tracking factory closures and mass layoffs, but the current shift in the labor market is leaving almost no footprint in traditional statistics. MIT's Iceberg Index maps this. The tip above water represents visible tech sector layoffs. Beneath the surface lies $1 trillion in professional wages exposed to immediate cognitive automation. This explains the modern paradox. Corporate output surged 40%, while new hires flatlined at zero. Our standard economic instruments are failing to sound the alarm because we are no longer tracking the disappearance of workers. We are witnessing the evaporation of corporate need. To see why this lockout is targeted specifically at the youngest workers, we have to look at how we actually acquire professional skill. There is codified knowledge, the syntax of a coding language, the rules of grammar, or the structure of a financial audit. These are the textbook skills students bring out of university, and they are exactly what AI can replicate in milliseconds. Then there is tacit knowledge. This is the unwritten understanding that only comes from deep human experience. It's the ability to sit in a boardroom, read a client's body language, and know they are lying about their budget. This remains a barrier that intelligence alone cannot cross. For a veteran worker, AI is a force multiplier. It absorbs the tedious, codified work and allows them to focus entirely on their high-level judgment. They become exponentially more productive without needing a team of assistants. This technology acts as a structural wedge. It supercharges the senior expert while perfectly substituting for the junior novice. If AI makes an entry-level worker's labor 50% less valuable, the standard economic response would be to simply cut their starting salary by half. But in the real world, wages are sticky. Psychological resistance and internal equity prevent firms from hiring a new analyst for $30,000 when the person in the next cubicle makes $70,000. So instead of lowering the price of labor, firms simply adjust the quantity. They close the entry-level door entirely, bypassing the expense and the risk of training a human being who might eventually leave. This behavior destroys the historical apprenticeship model. For generations, a novice became a master by doing the repetitive grunt work that the master no longer had time for. By optimizing away the entry-level phase, we are trading the long-term accumulation of human expertise for a short-term increase in quarterly output. For decades, we relied on the assumption that technology eventually creates more roles than it eliminates. We trust that a new, unforeseen labor market will always emerge. We call this the reinstatement effect. The spreadsheet didn't destroy accounting. It made deep financial analysis so cheap that the demand for accountants actually skyrocketed. But we are seeing a break in that historical pattern. Capital is no longer flowing into platforms that expand human capability. It is pouring into systems designed specifically to mimic existing human output. When AI replaces specific tasks rather than general roles, the labor doesn't move to a new sector. It vanishes from the human domain. This leads to a decoupling of civilizational success from human participation. We are moving toward a world that is highly functional, but where a growing number of people feel entirely unnecessary to its operation. If we follow this logic to its conclusion, we are forced to ask a question we've never had to answer. In a world where machines execute the cognitive labor, what are people actually for? This question becomes unavoidable as we look toward the Moon and Mars. If we export our current productivity-obsessed model to these new settlements, we will build habitats that are perfectly optimized and entirely empty of human meaning. In space, where survival is the baseline, We cannot be there merely to perform labor. If a machine can maintain oxygen scrubbers and navigate orbits more efficiently than we can, then our presence has to be about something else. We are being forced to forge a new division of responsibilities. AGI can optimize for survival, but only a person can assign meaning to it. We are there to bear witness, to form bonds, and to make the moral choices that exist only in the presence of uncertainty. The crisis of our era is that labor and identity are finally moving apart. We are beginning a transition from a civilization defining us by what we produce, to one that asks us to decide what is worth preserving.